Happy Sunday, you all. Today, I want you to join me in a conversation simply titled Why I Left Mexico for the Dominican Republic as a Digital Nomad. And as I thought through this, it was funny because initially, when I got to the Dominican Republic last year, I didn't even think that I would be living the digital nomad lifestyle. It was something that I thought about, but and even wished to do, but somehow it just never came together as something that I'd be doing. Now, after spending the allotted time, and we're going to talk about that because that's so important, I decided maybe the DR wasn't for me. I had several culture clashes, and it made me think that I wasn't ready for the Dominican Republic. I figure, having gone to Mexico on multiple occasions, Mexico would be easier for me to fit into. Oh, alas. We're going to debunk that. So, on my arrival to the Dominican Republic, on my first visit, now bear in mind, this is after having offered hospitality products to my clients in the DR, and they came back quite satisfied. I decided to give it a go because I try not to offer too much without knowing it personally. But at the same time, I chose not to come as a tourist doing the regular hotel lifestyle. I wanted to experience life as a local. And as a treat, I decided that my first week would be in Piantini. Of course, if you're going to do something, do it well. And if you're going to start good, you need to start great. So Piantini it was. Got the cutest apartment. It was a steal of a deal because it was newly listed and the host wanted the reviews, and so the discount price just made it right up my alley. And I did that. Piantini was amazing. It was walking distance to almost everything. Major hotels were in the area as well. The Marriott was there, the Courtyard Marriott, and of course I was close to the Blue Mall with the JW Marriott and several others. So pleasant, very, very pleasant. There was absolutely nothing I could have found to complain about. But yeah, who complains about being in Piantini, right? So spending time there was wonderful. And of course, moving around, getting the feel of the area, doing the grocery shopping, which is usually the best way to feel out an area. And then to just doing the banking visits and seeing how it is to open an account as a foreigner. All of that was part and parcel of my activities. It kind of got a little bit overbearing when I decided to choose a lesser established area for my next accommodation. And that was really quite a culture shock. Starting with the Uber driver who literally conned me. He knew I was going to Santo Domingo Este, and he took me in the bowels of what looked like a ghetto. That was just past the Malecon, going, what is that now? Going east? Yeah, into an area that, oh my God, not in life, not in death, nowhere, nowhere, not where I'm from, not where I don't belong. I would never be caught there. So anyway, he did it deliberately and then rerouted himself with the assistance of my host to get me to the right area. Didn't sit pretty with me, double charged me. I marked his face, marked his name, gave him the review he deserves, and I established on the platform, on the Uber platform, that he is un ladrón, ladrón. Pues muy bien. So then, that experience in that apartment gave me the sudden experience of life in the DR. Power outages for hours. Oh my goodness, I've heard about it. But of course, being in Piantini and then also being in, what was that area called? It was close to the La Universidad, so where the heart of education and so on happens. That was not my experience, but here I was in Santo Domingo Oeste, and life unfolded in a not so kind way. So I knew that yes, I had landed in the lifestyle of the ordinary people. And it wasn't so bad. I mean, hey, I'm from Jamaica. We have power cuts. But the the connis, that's my new word. The con artist activity was so much more evident in that area. Not to broad brush or badmouth all of Santo Domingo Este, as I had great experiences there as well. But yes, forgive me, yes, the cough persists. Yesterday I went to the pharmacy and I finally got some cough syrup that tastes like DPH. Clear, but tastes like DPH. And I used it. And so far, so good. So, yeah, very happy. I decided to turn around my camera because there is so much better viewing than just looking at me endlessly. Because, I mean, looking at me is just looking at me, but this is my view, and the bike taxis are doing their regular thing. And so, yeah. Now, when I got to Punta Cana, because I still needed to do a little bit of the touristy investigation lifestyle, and there I saw a different type of life. Still not all that I expected. Spent one day on resort at the Iberia Star, but somehow I was still not seeing what was grabbing my fancy. And to be honest, with only 4 days in Punta Cana and one resort experience, that was not enough to say, okay, this is it for me. So I had this brilliant idea. Let's go to Mexico. Yeah, so now you can see a little bit more of what's going on where I'm at, right? These apartments are lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. And they are still available for sale. Who knows? I might need to get into, what do we call it? Travel tourism, real estate tourism. That's what I'm thinking about. Because the availability of investment properties here blows my mind. So, having gotten to Mexico, I was very surprised that life as a local turned out to be not as amazing, not as awe-inspiring as life as a visitor. And of course, I know better. But comparatively, the accommodations that were available just for holiday makers who chose not to do the all-inclusive were not always up to, and you notice I'm choosing my words carefully, they were not as nice as the Dominican Republic. Can I just say that? Even infrastructurally, sidewalks, and I took a bad fall in Playa del Carmen. Infrastructurally, sidewalks, that sort of thing, just not there. Two big shocks that made me decide I could not live in Mexico as a digital nomad, however, were the costs of food items, the exchange rate on the dollar. I know I said two, but the exchange rate on the dollar and the prices of food items kind of shocked me. I did my grocery shopping comparison between the DR and where we started out in Puerto Morelos, which is in Yucatan, Quintero Roo, and it was very expensive. And the quality of the produce was absolutely not as good. I was very, very surprised at that. My host and my Airbnb, you hear this bike man going by, he has this bottled water, and apparently that's what he does all day, delivers from the mini mart just on the entrance of this complex. Very, very interesting. So there's so many of these persons just doing their job, earning their money. Life is to be lived, and he has found his way to make his living. So yeah. So food costs were high, exchange rates were bad, and there was another thing I have forgotten, but I'm sure it will come up again. And there goes another bike man doing his thing. And as I interject, I hope I can remember to speak of the bike accident that I saw unfold in front of my face yesterday. Oh my God, that was horrific. Well, it could have been worse. Absolutely no bloodshed. As we say in Jamaica, with the side of the bed that he slept on last night or the night before, he need to go right there and sleep right there. So again, because he did not have a scratch after what could have been a debilitating accident. So yes, back to the issue and the conversation that we're having as to why I left Mexico for Santo Domingo. Now here we go. Well, for the Dominican Republic, because I'm not yet in Santo Domingo. Now those tuk-tuk, I don't remember what they call it here, but that was also something that I found very fascinating. There's so many things here that I find fascinating, and bearing in mind that these are our Caribbean neighbors, and yet the differences in lifestyle and mannerisms, in even the quality of their produce, it is so remarkably noticeable. Now, having left for Mexico and having tried several different Airbnbs, which is my accommodation of choice because I'm doing 7-day stretches on average in each area, as I try to see a little, do a little, understand a little more of where I'm at, I was not finding things to be as comfortable and as accommodating. And the Mexican people, I find them to be very, very timid. Now for DR, these people are bold. I mean, they're so bold, maybe too bold. But Mexico, they're very timid, reserved. Yeah, it was not what I had expected, and it was a little bit too quiet for me, if that even makes sense. So interestingly, when you arrive in Mexico, at least every time I've been to Mexico, I have been granted 6 months to stay in the country. I've been there several years in a row consecutively. I always get 6 months, never stay more than a few days to a few weeks. And so that was one of the big reasons why I thought, yes, Mexico would work for me, because I would not have to do any adjustment to my status. I could stay for the duration of time indicated, and then I could move on. Whereas in the Dominican Republic, you're given 30 days. And before you quit, blow off, you either have to leave or you have to pay at aduana, at the customs or imigración, el momento que tienes que salir, because you've overstayed the allotted time. So that was a big thought for me, that yes, I will stay here in the DR. See, across the way I have some neighbors, and these DR people, they're like Jamaicans. They're so loud and they're so celebratory over heaven knows what. Just their form, their como se dice, son, como como son, no, pero nada. However, having left the DR and knowing quite well that I wanted to give some other Latin American countries a try, namely Panama, Colombia, and maybe a few others. Costa Rica has never been a grab for me, but certainly I had a thought that I would do a few others. It did not quite work the way I planned. I spent the winter with friends in Virginia, and on my way to Panama, in the planning process, somehow Dom Rep started to outweigh going further into Latin America for my first activity, at least for 2025. And so, by some twist of faith, by some movement of time and space, I've made it back to the DR and started where we ended in Punta Cana. So why did I leave Mexico for the DR? The things that hit me upon arrival are the reasons I came back, and I'm glad I did. The people are similar to what we are accustomed to in Jamaica. Very, very warm, very expressive, sometimes with little filter, but hey, properly Caribbean, so that doesn't bother me. You take it with a pinch of salt, and that's all there is to it. And then the fact that I can spend my Jamaican currency, and when we convert it to peso, my dollar for dollar value is so incredibly good. The other thing, and this is something that we can speak of directly because I didn't even mention it at all, is the quality of the food. Quality meaning freshness and the texture and the goodness of the food here. Meat, poultry, vegetable. The fish, I had fish yesterday. It wasn't mind-blowing, but it was fish, and I am a fish lover. But, quality for quality, the quality of food here, it's so much fresher, it's so much nicer, it's so much more palatable. And in Mexico, that was not always the case, particularly when you went grocery shopping in the fresh produce aisle. The offerings were less than I wanted them to be for me. So in a nutshell, I left because cost was high in Mexico. Cost here in the DR is still affordable. Cost of living, accommodations, food supply, freshness here in the DR outpaces both my home country and Mexico. The conversion on my Jamaican dollar to spend pesos, quite manageable. And the excitement of the people, the fact that they are just very Caribbean, makes me happy. They're alive, they're vivacious, they're doing their thing, they're full of spirit and heart. I can work with that. So right now I am at home, feel at home, act as though I'm at home. I tell you this, my appetite while in Virginia seemed to have gone south, and the snow and this cold that I contracted there didn't help. Since I've been back in the Caribbean, here in the DR, it's been so good to me. My health is coming back quite nicely. The quality of the food is making me very happy. Look at that poodle. Oh Lord, he's escaping. And just being around people, even though we have not made connections at the point where you could say, yes, we've made friends, but it's nice to see people just moving around, doing their thing, and feeling at peace with where I am and who I'm amongst. So those are my main reasons. I'd love if you would jump in the discussion. Join me here in the comment section, and let's hear what are your thoughts on my reasons for leaving Mexico on my digital journey to take another look at life in República Dominicana. As usual, Sherry has lots to say, so join me on the next video and I hope to see you on our upcoming live. Ciao for now.